Hello viewers, good afternoon everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Welcoming you all to new session of TexTIME. This is the episode 20. Today we will be talking about on innovation and industry 4.0. This is a very important topic. We will be focusing on the textile industry. We know that textile primarily means spinning and weaving. So we'll try to cover both of the sectors, though we have expertise in the spinning side, and also we have expertise in the overall textile machinery and technology manufacturing side today in the panel. So I would initiate at the beginning. I would like to introduce you with my panel today. So I would like to welcome Mr. Ernesto Maurer. He is the president of CEMATEX, the European Textile Machinery Association, and he is at the same time he's also the president of Swissmem, the Switzerland Textile Machinery Association. He is the board member of International Textile Machinery Textile Manufacturers Federation, ITMF, and he is at the same time also holding the board membership in many other textile machinery and technology companies. Mr. Ernesto, welcome to you to the TexTIME.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here with you.
Thank you very much for your time. And then I'd like to introduce Mr. Engineer Haider. He is the chairman of Euro Group, representing one of the leading textile machinery company in Bangladesh, and also serving with the company in the region, Trutzschler in particular. Engineer Haider, welcome you all. Yeah.
I also would like to thank Textile Today for inviting me, and I'm very much pleased to be here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Haider. So as I have been telling that, why we have chose this particular topic in innovation and industry 4.0, because once it is about technology, we need to understand our status and how we really need to evolve on the technology. What are the impacts will be on the ground? Industry 4.0 is not new. We know this discussion has been going on for several years now. But in our textile industry, still, I believe we don't have a very clear and strong position in adopting this industry 4.0. So we will be talking about how can we really adapt the technology, and what will be the challenges and what will be the impacts on the ground. So at the beginning, I would like to go to Mr. Ernesto to listen, to know from the technology manufacturing side, where really the industry stands and what really the textile machinery manufacturing companies can offer.
Thank you very much. I would like to open this statement with a word that we knew Industry 4.0 was with us for a long time. However, the last pandemic really stirred things up and accelerated things. We suddenly realized that being present in the virtual world, and as well that we have to make use of all the electronics and digital world in a way that was necessary, and this was basically a booster. So therefore, I'm very confident that in our industry, which is normally a little bit a conservative industry, now absolutely everybody realized that in order to remain successful, that we have to embrace Industry 4.0 in a much better way than we did before. And this goes mainly for communication to and from machinery, and as well with our esteemed customers. So basically, a lot of our members were happy if they had an app on their smartphone, and then afterwards they thought, now I'm digital. But it is one of the basics and fundamentals that we have to think about a way, how can we make ourselves more successful by using digital solutions? And in my opinion, we still have a long way to go, but the acceleration now started.
When you mentioned that, the current pandemic has affected the transformation of Industry 4.0, how it is?
I would use the words, we suddenly felt the need to make that possible. And in order to be successful, we need to change our business systems. And business systems means we are not only hooking up our machines to an internet, putting up a cable, but we now need to make things to improve productivity. We have a way to support our customers. And I believe it's not only making machines faster and more energy efficient, which is a given, but we have to be present together with our customer to solve problems immediately and to help them remain profitable with their production.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for enlightening us. I'll come back to you to listen more on the preparation or the progress made by the textile manufacturers globally in this aspect. Now, I would like to go to Mr. ASM Haider. If you really, inform us about the current status of the textile manufacturing in Bangladesh in terms of technology, where we really stand for, and what are the technologies, which level of technologies we are using.
Okay, first of all, I think we have to understand how relevant Industry 4.0 is for the spinning industry of Bangladesh and the future direction in which the machine manufacturers are moving to embrace it. You see, Corona taught us, the consumers, to be environmentally friendly. All the consumers are thinking how to protect our environment and how to be safe. And we are all talking about sustainable raw materials. Now, the sustainable raw materials is not that much, actually. The options are not so widely open. We are talking about garments purchase worldwide was $1 trillion in 2002, which came to $3 trillion in 2015. And the forecast is 4 to 5 trillion in the year 2025. And this will give rise to huge amount of waste. Now, there are two different types of waste. I will of course address the industry 4.0, but before that, I'm just talking about the present and the future of the spinning industry worldwide. So there are two types of waste, pre-consumer waste and the post-consumer waste. The pre-consumer waste is basically the spinning waste and the cut fabrics, which is there before the garments is made, and the post-consumer waste is the used garments. And if we segregate this waste into two other types, one is the soft waste and another one is hard waste. The soft waste is coming from, of course, spinning, the blowroom cards, noils, sliver, roving, or the clean tufts. And the hard waste is the yarn, the fabric waste, used clothes. And used clothes is the biggest challenge to recycle because it has got a lot of foreign parts in it, which has to be also removed before we make the sorting. And the problem is that when we recycle these pre-consumer or post-consumer waste, the fiber length is 10.9 to 18 millimeters only, whereas the virgin is around 27, 28, or even higher. And
Mr. Haider, as you have mentioned about this sustainability issue in terms of waste, I know the importance and impact of it. Do you think this is one of the most critical part, which should be connected with consumer decision making and also, process decision making, and Industry 4.0 can help? Do you want to tell that, or?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Can you align a bit more?
Okay. So you see, and this, as I was saying, the short fiber content around 12.7 millimeters is 64.4% of the total volume. So this is one thing that the industry is moving towards recycling, and the other one is the man-made fiber. Now, it takes 2,700 liters of water to produce one cotton t-shirt. It is according to the report of World Wildlife Fund, you see. So in both these things about the recycled material as well as for the man-made this thing, to use this kind of raw material, you need Industry 4.0, which is absolutely precise, and machine will be autonomous. For example, for Trutzschler, we have a software called My Mill. With My Mill, whatever is the trouble will be there in the machines. Nobody has to troubleshoot anything. The machine will troubleshoot by itself and will send a video file to the general manager level or to the MD level and show exactly what are the parts or what are the machine components that the engine has to go and check. So this is really unbelievable. A part of all the production quality data, what will be available on the smartphone anyway. Then we have another software called My Wire.
Okay.
So what My Wire does is that at the moment, for any schedule of the car clothing, people have to maintain huge amount of registers, and with the logbook, they have to think that which has to be changed at what time. But with My Wire, everything is recorded automatically, and the message will come directly to the smartphone, and it will address when and which wire has to be changed.
Great, great. Thank you very much. Great to know about these technologies. And I will come back to you to know further how the industry is adopting these, if it is being used in Bangladesh in particular and or elsewhere in the world. Now I would like to welcome Mr. Engineer Razeeb Haider, Managing Director of Outpace Spinning and Director of Bangladesh Textile Mills Association.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Thanks for joining.
Sorry for my late entry. It's some technical glitch, so it makes me a bit late to enter.
We are happy finally we get you. I'd like to come to you with a question. What I was asking, we were discussing about the status of the technology in the textile industry. We are trying to bring this industry 4.0, but of course we'd like to understand where our industry in particular stands in terms of application of technology. Mr. Razeeb, if you enlighten us about what sort of technology we are using today and what is our priority in terms of achieving the targets in the business.
Thank you very much. I think the topic is very much relevant considering the present industry 4.0 situation. In terms of, as I'm a man from spinning, I like to give you some insight about the technologies that we started using in our mills. You know that if in a short word, if I can say that, what we actually meant by the industry 4.0. So in a single word, I can say it is actually the digital transformation of the manufacturing and production related industries and the value creation process. So in terms of the spinning mills, actually there is a very big scope still there to deploy the new technologies, because most of our mills nowadays are not using the modern technologies that Mr. Haider just mentioned. It's only starting. It's only the beginning or the preliminary phase of implementation in our mills, like the mill eye or ring data monitoring system, or you can say the networking system in our simplex or in the winders. But the biggest obstacle here is you have to have a trained manpower with adequate knowledge in information technology and data interpretation to successfully implement these technologies across the field. So without properly training them, you can deploy any technologies in your field, but eventually that will not give you any benefit, because whatever thing you implemented in the mill in terms of technology, if you don't have a good brain to analyze your data, then the decision making will not be very perfect. So I think the young entrepreneurs like us and many of us are now started realizing the fact of this, and now we are gradually going to that direction. Suppose in my mill, I have successfully integrated my auto winders in a networking systems where my GM in every hour knows how many cards in which drums are happening, why the cards in a single drum has increased, and eventually on sitting from his desk, he can direct his foreman or his maintenance people to work on that particular head to rectify why the cards are higher on that drum. So I'm just giving one example. So this type of things that you can implement in each and every machine of your factories, right? In case of simplex, carding, draw frame, but this needs investment, this needs proper training, and this needs good human power to develop. And also our GM and DGM, you know that whenever you implement something new in your mills, the main resistance comes from inside of your mills. So I think for that reason, we are working on that to train them properly so that they can, once they realize the usefulness or the benefit of the systems, then it will be much easier for us to implement those systems in our industries. And we're welcoming this, we're eyeing on this, and I personally see a very good opportunities here, and that this thing goes for same for the weaving and dyeing or finishing industries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a few questions to put you back. I think I'll come back to you once again to know a bit more on industry's position and investment in terms of such Industry 4.0 or related technologies. Now I'd like to come back to Mr. Ernesto. You were telling about a required business system for implementing technology. Once you mentioned about this business system, what do you mean, and can you explain a bit more?
Yes, I liked pretty much what I heard from my colleague before, that he said just gathering data, just gathering information is not the key, but knowing how to treat the data, that is the key. And I believe in Industry 4.0, a lot of people did the mistake or went into the wrong way, as they just increased the number of data they were able to gather from machines and from processes and everything. And I fully agree with you that knowing how to treat the data and what to make out of it is the important task in the Industry 4.0. And that's what I meant when I said we need together to find a possibility how to use, how to separate a lot of information, or I would even say too much information with the useful information, and to make the distinction between them. And that is what I see in a business system. You first have to work on your key data that you need to perform, to increase performance and to know what is going on in your mill. And that has very little to do with gathering data, but that has to do a lot with understanding the processes in your mill and to understand what key factor will influence your profitability. And then afterwards, you gather those data and work with them. And this is what I meant. Gathering data is as simple as it can be. We have hooked up every machine now to data collector. We have gigabytes of data collecting. But if you don't know your processes, if you don't know which are really influencing your profitability and productivity, then you're gathering the wrong data. And
so,
there,
to understand it better, to understand it better, which level requires the knowledge? Is it not the decision-making level? I mean, the owner level, or what Mr. Razeeb was mentioning in the level who will be using the technology itself?
I believe it is a collaboration between the owner, between the decision maker, and the production manager. One that really makes things happen. The two together are really doing that. And that requires a lot of skill that goes rather low down on the mill floor, that people should be aware what kind of data they're gathering. But to understand the processes and understand the key performance indicator, I believe that is mainly on the floor, on the level of production managers and mill managers. They know their job best.
Okay, thank you. And I mean, what do you find about the textile machinery manufacturers? In which level they are today? You know, what amazing things they can offer, especially if it is about spinning mill.
If I go to the very core of the spinning mills, then we have fast changing raw materials. And we discussed before a little bit offline about the availability of cotton and where it comes from and the changing qualities. And it's not only the length of the staples, but it's a lot more in that you have to react very fast. And I am convinced that the machine manufacturer must be able to transmit that knowledge and transmit that know-how, how to adjust the machines, how to work with the machines to the customers and their electronic data transfer. I'm not talking about artificial intelligence. It's still a very human business. But we must be able to provide cases and to adjust our machines much better to the fast changing raw materials. And the changing of raw materials will not become less, that will increase in my opinion.
Well, thank you very much. I would like to, on this issue, I will also come back to Mr. Razeeb to know a bit more what is the level we can go in terms of connecting these raw materials and required product quality. I'll come to Mr. Razeeb on that. Before that, Mr. Haider, once you asked about this Industry 4.0, why have you, entered in sustainability issue? I find it interesting because is it the case where Industry 4.0 itself is not yet feasible? Once you look at on the main product, you have to find the benefits from the from the additional part like the waste reduction and also the resource consumption. What is the business case?
What I was trying to say is that the future that I have tried to address is about the recycled fiber and the man-made fibers. And Industry 4.0 or the automatic machine from the cloud, these things will enable the users to use this kind of things in a much easier way, because handling this hard waste or a man-made fiber or a blend is not so easy. It is not a straightforward job, and for that you need to incorporate the Industry 4.0.
So you mean the connectivity will help to track and also to connect it with the consumers to give better value to the waste?
I mean, the machine has to be capable to use this waste.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And for that, and this is exactly where the industry comes into the picture, because the benefits are, of course, reduced shipment time, agility, transparency, increased quality, and the productivity, reduced operational cost, increased happiness from the customers. But the threats or the challenges are initial investment cost, privacy, technical challenges needing experienced workers, and unemployment or unskilled workers. So these things also we have to keep in mind.
Yes. Can you a bit inform about the situation in terms of business case? Is it really still the business case? You mentioned about two of your products, particularly in terms of mill automation and also the connectivity. How is going in Bangladesh?
Yeah, we have started to introduce this, and like Mr. Ernesto said, that the machine makers have to train the workers even also. So what we are doing the installation very slowly, and in this time, if we are allowed to do so, And in this time, we are also training the workers how to use it. You see, for example, what Mr. Ernesto said, that the raw materials is varying very fast. Now, every raw material needs a different treatment or adjustment of the machines to save the waste or to extract the optimum amount of waste. But Trutzschler has got completely automatic system, which is the optical device in every waste extraction point, so that the machine will do exactly what gauging has to be done to take out the exactly, what type of optimal waste has to be extracted. But,
okay, thank you.
But then the workers also have to be trained to use it in a proper way.
Thank you very much. I understand it now, because the technology itself has the capacity to track and identify, and also work on in the necessary level on the waste. Rajeeb bhai, I would like to come to you. The two questions I had to Mr. Haider, to know from your side. How do you find the business case of investing in such technologies, and is it really feasible on the products we are doing, or we really need to move to the value-added products using the technologies to find out a competitive edge of the industry 4.0? Because we had a big discussion that in Bangladesh we have very high or sophisticated technology. We are not being able to achieve the optimum outcome from this.
That there is two separate. If I'm not wrong, let me clarify a bit more. Than if I'm in wrong track, you suggest me that I'm on the right track or not. Yeah, actually, that as an entrepreneur, there's two different aspects on this. One is that you are saying that is the product diversification, where actually all of our investments or processes we're eyeing in one basket. Even you see that most of our capacities on spinning that we invested so far in Bangladesh is targeting the cotton. We're actually mainly the cotton spinning, right? The blended and the other products or the man-made fibers are still not in our main criteria of production till yet. Okay, so this value addition is a thing that as an entrepreneur you have to decide. You need to focus on that after 5 years or 10 years where the world will go. What would be the leading or the leader in product? That if you see that over the last 10 years, the man-made fibers based products are consumption of those products are increasing. So, but even though if you see the investment pattern in our country, we're mainly investing in the cotton, because that here the process is relatively not that much challenged. You can accommodate the process much easier. So everyone is going after for the easier one. Where the R&D based products, the man-made fibers had a huge scope of R&D is required here. So comparatively less investment is made still now today in this field. But that's a decision of an entrepreneur. Where do you want to invest? For the niche market or for the large mass market? Okay. So, but that whenever I'm concerning or assessing the industry 4 or the technologies, then it is irrespective whether I'm going for cotton or whether I'm going for man-made fiber. The thing is that you need to decide what is the advantage that you are getting by introducing these technologies in your machines or across your factory. What is the investment that you are putting behind it, and what is the productivity increase that you are getting out of that? So this should be the main decision-making tool for an entrepreneur. So it doesn't have, in my opinion, it doesn't have any link that whether you're doing cotton spinning or man-made spinning. Definitely, if it's a man-made spinning, it's a niche product, your margin will be higher. So that will give you a better advantage of that product. But in case of cotton spinning, say your margin is less, but at the bottom of the day, I need to find two things. Is it helping me to reducing my wastage in my production process? And how much is helping me to make my decisions quicker? And what is my productivity increase from that? Okay. So if these three, I try to calculate in terms of invest in money, and then I back calculate against my investment that is needed, then it will give me that quite good answer. So for me, it's better to invest gradually, not in one shot. First, you need to realize what is the benefit that you're getting. Suppose you automate your ring data, okay? Then you'll see that how much pneumophil that you are saving across a period of 5 or 6 months. Then you calculate, okay, what is the benefit of it? Because sometimes if you go for a simple math, these investments will not maybe justify at this point of time. But over the period of time, when you're getting the advantage out of it, that you're reducing your pneumophil, you're reducing your number of idle spindles, you're reducing your machine breakage time, your people get more active on the floor, and that ultimately giving your higher utilization and machine efficiency. So these things will make the determinant factor to justify your investment in this field. And I think now it's time to think like that way, because there will be huge shortage of skilled manpower, I'll see, in next coming years. So if you want to manage smartly your mill, you need to go and think towards that direction.
That's great. Thank you very much. I will come back to you, but in particular, really to know a bit more on the real case investments going on in the industry. As a BTMA director, sure. I know a lot of investments are going in the spinning industry in recent sure. times. In between, we'd like to listen a bit from our sponsor, that is the course. I would like to show you one of the videos showing their sustainability strategy, how they are adopting sustainability in their business. Thanks for your patience listening. I think this is an interesting one, how a company really integrates sustainability as a core of the company. And Course is one of the leading companies in the world, providing materials for the apparel industry in particular. So Ernesto, can I come back to you to understand a bit more on the current value chain of the global textile industry? Because once we talk about Industry 4.0, we are talking about connectivity and database decision making. If it is about within the industry, are we really being able to connect the industries in the value chain itself? What are the challenges over there, if we really could?
This is a very good question. And I believe my first answer would be trust. A lot has to be in with trust, because we can provide a link to almost everything, and from everybody to everybody. But even in a conservative industry as we are, linking everything has a lot to do with trust. And the technical feasibility is there. We don't have to talk about that. We can connect everything. We can have interrelation with the entire value chain. But I'm coming back to what I previously said. What is necessary? And therefore, I strongly believe in the point that we have to define the key processes and the key performance indicator prior to that. And there, the machine manufacturers can definitely help. They have a large database available. They have done these machines for so many decades, even centuries almost. They have seen so many changes around the world, even with raw materials. And if I'm looking at sustainability and all the aspects of recycled material, it's basically also a raw material issue, because at some point in time, all these materials come back to the same process. And then we have to know how we're going to treat them. To me, it is very, very important that we keep traceability and we have a clear picture of how we can reuse these materials. We have a little bit tendencies that go in other directions. Let's say if I want to create a yarn that is difficult to recycle, then I mix it. Then I mix it with cotton, with various chemical fibers, add a little bit of lycra to it, and then we have exactly what the market is demanding right now. So the market demands are not really encouraging the easy recyclability of our materials, but that is the challenge to us, and we have to face it. But I think, therefore, recyclability is one thing, but reducing energy consumption is the easier way to start to make our processes more profitable and
anybody will be convinced on the, to look at when they are going for investment. But once you talk about the traceability and also the connectivity between the partners in the value chain, once you talk about the trust, what do you find out? You mentioned about the pandemic as well. Technically now, we need to be more connected, and decision making should be more faster. But in terms of business norms and also the compliance, is there any change? Isn't it, it is still challenging to bring real trust on the value chain?
It is a challenge, but I think we made quite a lot of progress in the last 2 to 5 years. We made a lot of progress. And as I mentioned at the beginning, the pandemic and the need for interacting more on a virtual base than sitting together in the same office also increased the acceptance of that. And therefore, I think today we are facing much more experts that are willing to work together along the value chain in order to keep the traceability alive, and that definitely helps the industry for the sustainability.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Razeeb, can I come to you on this aspect? Once you think about the businesses in Bangladesh, for example, the spinning mills, they are selling yarn to the knitting mills and also the weaving mills. And how is the trust remain over there? And is it really welcoming to both of the partners when you mention about the data and also the database decision making?
Can you make it a bit detailed of what you mean?
For example, there are many things in terms of, once it is about quality, say quality of the fabric. There is a tendency that everybody will and talk about the raw materials quality. So, is it about the process or is it about really raw materials? The industry is prepared to get, enough data on this to find out the problems indeed?
Actually, that I come to my main point again. You can provide data, right? Suppose some of my, just give you an example, some of our customers, they ask for our Worcester tester data, UT tester data, the Worcester report of the yarn to check the quality of the product. Okay, so we provide them the Worcester, but even though there is acceptable Worcester test report of yarn resulted in a poor finish in fabric. When it turns into fabric, then their fabric quality is not as per their satisfactory level. Okay, but if you assess the Worcester, then they can say, okay, your Worcester was very good, but why my fabric is like that? So this is where actually that's very tough to build that trust. That it is a fiber, it's behavior. You cannot only make based on your Worcester data, right? Sometimes it's very tough to make them understand, because Worcester is giving you the process faults, right? It's giving how much thick, thin naps or other faults in your finished yarn. But whenever it's a fiber, whenever it's a yarn, the main characteristics of the dyed fabric will depend on the fiber properties, like the maturity or some other things. And that maybe I have a very good Worcester report and will not give that reported that much good quality in fabric. It seldom happens. But that again, the thing is that whether I'm giving him the right data or whether he's giving me the right input, or from his side, he will say that this is your process fault. I will say, no, this is your process fault. So that this is somewhere there is a heavy tussle between us. Because that whenever I'm giving you a yarn with accepted Worcester report, then I will say, okay, my yarn was better. So now it is your dye stuff, or it is your finishing stuff, finishing products, which makes the quality worsen at the later stage while you dye and finish the fabric. And they will come up, no, it is the evenness, or it is the dead fiber, or it is blah, 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 the other things which causes the fabric to be in better, in bad shape.
In case when you are purchasing your raw materials, how do you trust? How much do you trust? This, parameters.
The parameters we checked, right? We have the age-based spectrum in our mill, and we can check each and every parameter. Actually, this is actually depends on the relation that you have extended with your cotton suppliers, because the suppliers can judge the customers like us who are very much stringent about quality. Some customers are not that much tough on quality. They accepted some tolerance. Suppose for us, we are very much strict on the basic 5 or 6 parameters. So my suppliers, everybody, they know that, no, if this cotton is assigned for Outpace or RS Spinning Mills Limited, then that would be very, the coefficient of variation has to be very limited. So then they charge premium for that. So it is your negotiation skill, and where you have to play at the beginning. It is your mindset, or it is your or strategic decisions.
And do you think that the information and also connectivity helps it in terms of achieving this?
Any cotton which goes beyond my variation, then it's okay. So usually this trust builds over a period of time, not in a single overnight. So for raw cotton supplier, for our trusted suppliers, we know the quality, and if the quality is not as per our requirement, they informed us earlier, so that in the process we can take our precautions much earlier. Because if we know that this time maybe the maturity is not good or short fiber index is high, we inform from them. And if it is a crop scenario, sometimes this is a crop scenario. Most on everywhere the crop is like that for a particular region. Then in the blow room or carding, we take precautions like that way, so that eventually that fall comes not in our yarn. So this is actually the communication, how good you are maintaining with your suppliers, that helps to give you that trust. And the same thing gives for my customers to whom I supplied the yarn. So this is how it's a better of communication among the value chain partners.
Thank you very much. It's very, very good to know. Now I'd like to come on the next important area is, how really current spinning mill are investing. Haider bhai, Mr. Engineer Haider bhai, if you know better, I think, because you receive the orders from the spinning
He knows
mills.
better than me, I think.
Where the investments are going? A lot of investment, I know.
See, at the moment, it is very difficult to invest even because machines are not available.
Yeah.
The shipment time of all the machines is now almost more than 2 years.
2 years already.
But
So
somehow
we need
the
to lob
investors...
to Mr. Ernesto,
It is a problem. We just discussed it a little bit offline. I think the raw material, if we talk raw material, now we go back to the raw materials of the machine manufacturers, and it is the basics that we all have in the textile machinery industry, from steel, aluminum to color material or whatever it is. We really have problems getting the right materials.
Okay. Now the good idea would be consuming less investment. Engineer Haider bhai, less waste.
No,
so you see, I still...
Of course. Yes.
Yeah, Haider bhai, please.
I still suggest the manufacturers to embrace the latest engineering, because it does not only give them advantage in reducing the raw material cost, but also they will be able to use the raw materials of the future, like I said. The recycled material or the man-made fiber blends, which is the future. I mean, just I have a small data of the ratio of the cotton and man-made fiber. It was 29.5 to 70.5 in 2011. It is 28.4 to 71.6 in 2016, and 27.3 to 72.7 in 2021. So the people demand is going there more and more towards the man-made fiber, and the mills should be prepared to handle the raw material for the future.
But not that rapid. The data you have shared is a bit smooth transition, not that rapid, isn't it?
Yes, but compared
still
to
there is a trend.
Demand, the trend is there.
Yeah.
I mean, the cotton field is limited. Population is growing. So the easier to recycle is the man-made fiber. So this is actually the future. And to be able to use the recycled fiber and the man-made fibers, the mills have to be prepared for the latest engineering. It is a must.
So this engineering, when you mention about this technology, are these, beneficiary once you manage number of products or once you go for product diversification, or these are the hinders? Because a machine sometimes focus more on the efficiency and productivity, and then you reduce the versatility.
No. This is actually a must. This is not going to hinder. This is a must. For example, just as an example, when you recycle the garments fabrics, you get yarn together with the fiber. The raw material is actually yarn. Many yarn fiber is also there inside the raw material. And to open that yarn or to process that cotton together with the yarn, you need absolute accuracy between the cylinder and the flat tops. And you have to go down to a gauging of 3,000th of an inch. And this is not possible to do with hand gauging. It has to be automation. It is a must. And Trutzschler, or the companies like that, they are coming forward that nobody has to gauge the machine. The machine will gauge by itself. You set it into the computer and the machine will gauge by itself. Otherwise, you cannot handle the yarn inside the raw material. It is simply not possible. Okay, technology helps in many cases. Thank you. Mr. Razeeb, can you enlighten us about where the spinning mills are investing nowadays?
So you want to know amount of investment, or where means in which field?
Maybe where means in which area? Is it just capacity expansion, or you are going for the new production ranges or new product ranges?
That I think this question is better answered by Haider bhai. So even though I have some data with me, so as I'm representing BTMA here also. So far I know that from our data, around 2 million spindles are coming in next 2 years. It's adding the capacity in next 2 years. So most of them are for cotton. And there are some, the exact percentage-wise scenario is not available with me right now, but the majority is coming for cotton. Okay, so it's around 2 million spindles is coming in the market on and around. So this is what I came to know from my office. And the thing is that, that the big challenge is for that. It's a very uncertain, because, that Haider bhai told that even though I booked a machine, I don't know, it will come after 2 years. So, and after 2 years, where the market goes, it is very tough to predict. The fashion changes, the situation changes, every scenario changes, the catastrophic changes are coming in the world so rapidly. So for investors, to invest and wait for a longer period of time like this, so even if it takes 2 years to come the machine to my site, then it will take another 6 months to install it in my factory. So if you plan to set up a factory right now in 2021, I don't think so. And no one can start in 2024 January or February. So this is how the earliest time. So is it actually really worthy? I don't know, because that I'm also going for expansion, but the thing has to be very cautious, because this is the financial risk is over there, the risk of market demand is over there. There are much more synergies coming that we might experience in this next 2 or 2.5 years, the global economic turmoils or anything like that. But I think we should focus on the man-made fibers. This is where we need to think. And I know many of us are converting their existing mills to man-made fibers. Okay, the new spindles they're adding for the cotton, and the existing spindles that they have, they are shifting it for man-made. So many of them are trying to make a balance, not putting their all product in one basket. And as of actually, we also have to know that, is there enough capacity in dyeing and finishing we're adding? Actually, this data is not available. If you interpret 2 million spindles into fabric, is there enough capacity in your finishing and dyeing is adding in next 2 years? Then why should this yarn go? So I think there is a big, there should be enough working on it, so that we ended up with a higher supply, and there is demand is less than your supply.
Yes.
And then might be the biggest challenge for everyone. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we have some constraint in time. Ernesto, can you inform us a bit more on the scarcity of the raw materials and how the machinery manufacturers are suffering for this?
Well, I think we shouldn't complain and talk about suffering, but we should talk about how we are going to solve it. Our industry has not become so old and so can resist any of these problems so well if we just keep on complaining. One of the major aspects is make better use of the raw materials that we have. And I fully agree with my colleague, ASM Haider, that we have to use the materials of the future and not of those that are in use, were in use yesterday and are in use today. And therefore, I see a lot of development going on in the innovation of the machine manufacturers, that they say this shortage of raw materials will stay for quite some time. It will not be something that will disappear next year or maybe in 2 years. So we better get used to it, make best use of our raw material. And coincidentally, it is something that also helps the sustainability. Because if you make things lighter, if you make things with less material and transportation, energy consumption, everything will improve with that. And this is where the major innovation goes into.
And Ernesto, if you excuse me, do you find any scope of, taking back the, for steels and the machinery, those who has become outdated in the spinning mills in Bangladesh? Is there any possibility?
Of course it is. Of course, because raw material has, we should always distinguish between raw materials of machines and raw materials of the production. But I would say machinery, to recycle machinery properly, is an issue that has been along for quite, but its importance is increasing tenfold right now. And if we look at these aspects, I think we just have to see what is the best way. Bangladesh, for instance, has a long tradition, is recycling material, steel, aluminum, and things like that, like virtually no other countries in this experience. And maybe it's the best way to work in that way, because transportation is also quite an issue that we have. And so therefore, keep the materials locally, produce them locally, and try to use them locally is definitely a better way than to ship them all around the world with no such transportation available right now.
Thank you, Mr. Ernesto. Mr. Haider, if you mention a bit on the possibility of the idea that we have discussed.
What do you mean?
I mean, the machinery, we have been, many machineries are already outdated in terms of productivity and performance. How can we reuse them? Is there any possibility once we talk about the shortage of the raw materials in terms of machine manufacturing?
No, like Mr. Razeeb Haider said, is that the old mills are getting because to run cotton, you need, to be competitive with the yarn coming from India or from somewhere else. You need new machines and, but to run man-made fiber or simple raw material, simple blends, you can use the existing mill also. So many mills are already converting their existing mills into the blends, into the blends. And many old mills are also converting, or let's say they're scrapping their old mills and going for new investment also. But again, of course, the barrier remains because the machines are not available at the moment. And this year was an unprecedented year. So many spinning mills in one shot. This I never experienced in my whole business career, I must say.
And once it is about Industry 4.0, do you find any possibility of locally grown technology to become an option?
Yes.
Locally grown technology? No, I don't see anything like that happening soon.
Rajeeb bhai?
No, locally grown technology for the machines that we are talking today right now, it's very tough to it's not possible right now. Maybe we can think about some spares or accessories that can be act as a supportive one, but the machineries wise, it's not the time to think yet.
Because in terms of artificial intelligence or data processing and connectivity.
Yeah. Because that if you see it's an assembling one, then that's a different issue, right? Yep. But I don't think so that concept will come and play in this sector. Okay, maybe it's okay for assembling your light engineering like automotive or two-wheelers, but this is actually not coming into this direction.
Thank you. We are at the very end of the discussion. Ernesto, can you conclude saying something about the upcoming, machinery shows in terms of when it's about CEMATEX?
Gladly. I think everybody is now really eager to go to a physical show to meet again and see things. While I myself were part of complaining that we have too many shows in 1 year or so, now we don't have enough of them. So basically, we are going into a heavy loaded year in 2022, where all these exhibitions will take place, but I see a great enthusiasm to take part from both sides, from visitors and exhibitors, same. But I hope that the future will not restrict us in going there. If I look at the situation all around the world, I'm not 100% sure that all will be at liberty. But towards the end of next year, I'm pretty confident that we will have the possibility to meet and greet in person.
And hopefully the companies will be able to deliver the machinery as well.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
they should.
thank
They
you,
should.
Mr. Ernesto, Mr. Haider, and also Mr. Engineer Razeeb. Haider, thank you all.
Thank you.
Today we are ending the session here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.